Welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, the podcast that's as accurate as a John Beaton refereeing performance at Ibrox. This week on Heart and Hand, Hearts humped, now on to Perth. So, welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar. I am your host, and I'm joined this week by our pod regular and stalwart, Mr. Ian Hogg.
Good evening, David. Pleasure as always for you to have me on the show, and clearly for me to be here as well.
Well, and also joining us tonight is Hoggy's son from the Millennial Bears on Patreon, one of the younger contributors to our site. The man affectionately known because he's on a show with Hoggy as Hoggy's boy. It's David Marshall. Welcome to the first team, son. Just keep your head down, do what you're told by the older guys, and you should be all right.
No, thanks for having me on, David. The revelation about Hoggy being my dad is news to me, but I'm excited to be making my first team debut.
Given Hoggy's behaviour back when you were a lad, just show your mum a picture and hope that she doesn't recoil in horror.
Young David is certainly my master Bates to Russell Martin.
Your protege, shall we say. But moving on, lads, Saturday, Rangers took on Hearts at Ibrox. Big game, and felt like a big game. And Rangers, I thought, turned in an excellent professional performance. Right from the start, Rangers were the better side, I felt, although Hearts did, I think, offer a wee bit in the opening 15-20 minutes. But Rangers soon asserted their dominance, got a goal, and what a finish it was too from Jamie Murphy when he cut in actually from the right wing and seemed to delay shot to the point of driving the crowd bonkers, but then just picked exactly the right moment to put it away. And that relaxed Rangers into the second half. There was only one team in it, as the cliche goes. And Rangers, I thought, battered Hearts, with Hearts goalkeeper keeping the score at a respectable level. And a more accurate gloss was put on the result with a couple of minutes to go when excellent work down the right. As usual, Daniel Candeias plays in his go on and stick me into the back of the net ball, which is obligatory at least twice a match, according to the stats. And there was Russell Martin, who came in and forced it over the line for 2-0. Hoggy, I'm not really doing that performance justice because Rangers were by far the better side against a Hearts side which has been playing well and has certainly improved under Craig Levein beyond all recognition. What impressed me most, Hoggy, was that this was a must-win game, and for the first time in a long time it felt to me like Rangers approached a must-win game thinking we're going to win this, as opposed to panicking about losing it. And that to me was so refreshing.
I think Rangers approached the game with an attitude of we are Rangers, and that's been missing for forever. It feels like I thought we went out and we obviously just wanted to impose ourselves on Hearts. We kept the ball, we pinged it about, we made a few chances. What I will say is the first 15 minutes, I thought, and I'm maybe being overcritical and over harsh, as is my usual want. First 15, I thought we were pretty defensively poor. Hearts were loading the box, Hearts were getting crosses in, free kicks, all the rest of it. And my main beef was no one was taking ownership at the back and really leading the defence. And it was causing a wee bit of chaos. I was quite surprised Hearts first 15. What I did notice, however, sitting in East Closure, is Bruno Alves and Kenny Miller came out to start warming up, and Alves started barking some instructions to the defence, and all of a sudden Russell Martin was organising people. The very next free kick came in, Martin had basically positioned every single defender. We won the ball, headed it clear, and from that point on Hearts really threatened. I thought middle to front, however, and then even at the back after that 15 minutes, we were in absolute control. Should have been cruise control, because I think we had Dean Windass and Alfredo Morelos just having one of their days.
No wonder we didn't do too well with Dean up front, considering he must be well into his 50s by now.
young Josh, shall I say.
See, this is why I'm bringing through an infusion of young blood into the first team before fucking your brain goes completely to mush.
I mean, that started about 10 years ago. So
I remember when Tony Haitley was up front for us.
Indeed, bastard. So, young Josh Windass, should I say, and Trevor Morelos. The key thing for me, however, was even though they had a bad game, even though they missed chance after chance, neither of them hit, and you're used to that from Morelos. But look at Windass maybe 3 months ago. Had 3 months ago, had he started like he did on Saturday, he would have disappeared up his own arse and been substituted. As it was, he never hid. He was always looking for the ball. He was always trying to make something happen. David, you've mentioned a few times, like him or loathe him, Josh Windass is now carrying himself as a first-team regular. And that performance on Saturday, whilst it wasn't good, never hiding is a damn good sign.
No, absolutely. It's the old thing. He was there to miss the chances. We will come back to Josh later because there's an interesting question I think that the performance on Saturday raised that I do want us to address. David, that was the best I think I have seen a Rangers midfield play in a match all season. You could say at Parkhead, but that was much more of a defensive role where everyone knew what they had to do and they battled, and that's great. But I thought all aspects of the game on Saturday, the midfield four, if you like, of Candace, Docherty, Goss and Murphy, I thought every one of them was good, with three of them being excellent. And I thought they completely strangled Hearts in that area of the field and made sure that we had, as Hoggy says, after the first 15 minutes, where I thought it was more to do with Kyle Lafferty schooling David Bates a wee bit. I thought Kyle Lafferty was using all his experience and showing a guy who, we laugh and joke about Kyle Lafferty, the human being, but he's a talented footballer, always has been, and he was showing that. And I thought Bates struggled, but did get into it a bit later. But I thought that the midfield choked off what could have been a decent route for Hearts, because Lafferty did look in form early on. But then after that, they gave Rangers, if you like, the basis to just swamp Hearts, and for 70 minutes that's what we did.
No, I would totally agree with you. If you look at it on the face of it, 1-0 against Hearts right up to the 8th minute, if you just look at it on the face of it, you think it must be a nervy game. But to be perfectly honest, it wasn't really. Rangers were, totally on top in that second half particularly, and I say in no small part to the midfield. I think Greg Docherty was playing the proverbial, he was everywhere role. I thought he was really good in Saturday, the way he always seemed to be chasing down the ball, trying to break up play in the moments where Hearts were actually in possession. And Sean Goss, I've just got man love for this guy, and I'm sure I'm not the only bear that's holding my hands up going, I was totally wrong about this boy. I thought it was the signing of him was going to be a complete waste of time, but he really adds something to our team. There was a point in the first half where we had the ball just outside the Hearts box, and he done a turn and put his foot in ball and just looked to start play again. And as soon as I seen it, that was like Barry in his palm, the way he done that. They're just controlling the flow of the game, controlling the attack. And yeah, the midfield was excellent. Again, Candace, you know exactly what you're going to get from him. As you say, he put in his regular stick this one away ball. But we were just really good, and a Hearts team that can be dangerous. We know how they're going to sell. They're going to be difficult to break down, and they do have, a dangerous out ball and Kyle Lafferty. But the midfield was just superb, and I said just strangled any threat that Hearts could have had.
Hoggy, fish and chips, Cagney and Lacey, Tim's and Gyros. There are some things that are just classic partnerships. Now, I think that Rangers are developing these all over the park currently. I think that on the right hand side you have Tavernier and Candace, who we've spoken about before, but I'm quite happy to talk about again, who have an excellent understanding. Already there are signs of that with Murphy and John, and I think John is looking like a better player already because of that. He's still got a ways to go, but I think we spoke about this on the show last week, that he is kind of where Tav was maybe 2 seasons ago. He's younger and he's developing, but he's now got his Candace, if you like, in front of him. And in the middle of the park, I thought Goss and Docherty complemented each other superbly. already. That's remarkable, and I'm excited by the possibility of these partnerships, with the caveat that, of course, one of them may be broken up because Goss is only on loan.
As you know, David, I'm a big one for talking about units through the park as opposed to just individual players.
And alcohol.
Well, indeed, the higher the better. I'm never one for an individual player being at fault solely. It can, for me, a team game, it can never solely be his fault. So you take those units that you've talked about, the right hand side with Tavernier and Candeas, and when they're under pressure or being attacked, you'll have one of the central midfield two shuffle over, you'll have one of the centre half shuffle over, and there's always 2 or 3 players backing someone up. Rangers have started to go hunting in packs a wee bit. And when we're attacking, and it's the right-hand side and the left-hand side, we are playing short passes, we're looking for the overlap continually, but we're not doing it Warburton style stupidly. It's not everyone's going and it's a charge of the Light Brigade and leaves one at the back. We're just doing it with intelligence now. And that central midfield pairing I thought in Saturday, Goss was excellent. He has been for the past 2 or 3 games. Docherty was, I thought in Saturday, now I don't particularly want to go overboard because I never like to, but I thought Docherty was superb on Saturday. I came away from the game thinking, if that's him after a handful of games, this boy's going to be an absolute star for us.
I don't even think he's a handful yet. I think he's 2 or 3 by now. But the thing about Docherty, David, that I really like is that, one, he's ginger, and Rangers are always better when we have ginger players in the side. This is a fact, folks. Just look through history. Rangers need to have a dominant Scotch ginger in there. And I had, Red's a good player. Now, the only thing that I'm looking at this boy and thinking this could be an issue is consistency, not based on anything he's done, because as Hoggy says he started, but it's because when I look at his all-round game, I don't think there's very much he's not good at. He's got energy, he can tackle, he's quite quick, he's good in the air, he can pass, he can go past a man, he can drive the team on, and he's got a good shot on him. And I'm sort of looking at him going, hang on a minute, 600 grand? Because we've spent a lot more money for people with a lot less ability than he looks to have.
No, I agree with you. We've been blessed in a way in the last 10 years or so. We've had a bit of false dawns with Scottish midfielders coming through, guys like Jimenez.
Hang on a minute, we've been blessed in the last decade?
Blessed, you say?
Well, see,
blessed by Cardinal blessed by Cardinal Mario Conti, maybe was the blessing. But right, go on nonetheless. I don't want to pick on you because it's your debut. I'm going to. I don't want to, but I will. But go on.
I was doing well to make sure the slagging was just going for
just get it in early. You're absolutely right.
No, what I was trying to say is we've almost had that breakthrough young Scottish midfielder come through, but it's never really came to prominence. Now we've got this guy, Greg Docherty, and when I was talking about earlier, I think I've done him a bit of disservice. I only mentioned the stuff he done off the ball, really. As you said, he's a great ball playing midfielder as well as he can do all the dirty stuff in the engine room, like the run about, the energy, closing down, tackling. And as I said, with consistency, he's a young guy, that's going to come with the more games he plays. But I'm just really impressed with how well he's fitted in with the team already. He just looks like a boy who is absolutely born to play for Rangers.
Something great about seeing a bear, isn't there, Hoggy, that is in the first team and looks as though there's nowhere else in the universe that he would rather be. And that's how Greg Docherty looked on Saturday. But as David mentioned there about him, you're right, we have had a lot of these kind of young guys coming through, but I don't think any of them have had the all-round game that he's had since. And I'm not going to mention the name because it would put too much pressure, and I don't want to compare them in terms of ability, but fuck it, Barry Ferguson, in terms of having the all-round game. Now, Greg Docherty is not as good a player as Barry Ferguson, and if Greg Docherty turns out to have half as successful a career for Rangers as Barry Ferguson have, I will be a delighted man. But what I mean by that is having the whole all-round range of game. That we've had guys like Ness who are excellent passers of a ball that have come into the side. We've had guys who have excited us because they could do certain things well. He looks like your real old-fashioned box-to-box all-round midfielder, not a defensive midfielder, not an attacking midfielder, a midfielder who can do pretty much anything that you want him to do in that area of the field.
He reminded me, I was talking to Big Alex at half-time on Saturday, and Alex made mention that he thought he was kind of reminiscent of a Stephen Davis, and I kind of disagreed with that, and I disagree with the Barry Ferguson thing as well. The guy that really, if we're doing comparisons, he's like Ian Ferguson when Ian Ferguson joined Rangers, and he was absolutely box to box. He was all action. He could pass the ball. He could shoot. He wasn't afraid to put his foot in. In fact, he bloody loved it, and he just. On Saturday, Docherty's strolling about that midfield as if he owned the place. That was the thing that really, really impressed me the most.
Now, of course, we've completely jinxed Greg Docherty, so if it's a howler tomorrow night, then yes, it was entirely our fault and we will take the blame for it. But I don't think there's anything wrong with getting excited when you see genuine talent coming into your side. And speaking of genuine talent coming into your side, David, Jamie Murphy, sexy or what?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Jamie Murphy. I thought there was a lot of fans who were actually a bit harsh on Murphy when he first started playing for us.
Oh, can I just interrupt you there, David? Hoggy, we have a certain podder who's currently having a break from first team duties, the big lady boy. And how many games was it when he declared that he thought Murphy was a bit rubbish? Three games for Big Scott. So all of you who clamour to have Scott back on here so he can tell you stories about Chinese youth teams' testicles, right? Remember his aberrant lack of football knowledge. Anyway, sorry, David.
Yeah, especially like when I compared Murphy to the reception that Graham Dorrans got when he first came in. People seem to be a lot more lenient with Dorrans than they were with Murphy, but I mean, if there's any doubts, it's not taking them long to, get him on side with a fan base. He's been really good the last couple of games. His goal on Saturday was absolutely superb. I mean, if you watch it back in Rangers TV, Tom Miller's commentary, it sounds like he's reaching the point of climax when the ball eventually rolls over the line. It's just superb, and I just can't wait to see this guy develop even more within this team. And he's, the kind of player, when he gets in a run, he's got you on the edge of the seat. You're always expecting something to come of his run and his play.
But he works so hard as well, and I think that's something that I really like about both him and Candace. Now, we've sung the praise of Candace Hoggy a lot this season. Where he had a rough couple of weeks round about the Hibs away match. I think that culminated. That game was his worst performance of the season. But barring that, this guy, I think, has been one of our most consistent performers. And there's something wonderful about having now two reliable wide players who that they will contribute, even if they're not having their best game. Candace's stats prove that he makes at least two great chances, i.e. should be a goal chances every match. He more than that on Saturday. And Murphy on the other wing's the same, that even if they're not having their best attacking game, you never need to worry about them doing their shift back the way. And there's something hugely encouraging about that, which is I think Tav's improvement defensively this season has come from having A, someone in front of him that will fill in and help him out, and B, someone he trusts. And he's now, I think, deciding when to go and when to stay is a lot better. His decision making with regards to that is a lot better. And you add into that now you've got Murphy on the other wing who appears to be doing the same, which I think will be so good for Declan John. I mean, I honestly can't think of a better thing that's going to help him develop the way Tav has, as having his own version of Daniel Candace out on that wing.
Daniel Candace is just... I think when he came in, we all hoped he would be superb. We all expected he would be inconsistent, because let's face it, he's had about 472 clubs over the past 10 years. So doesn't point to a particularly consistent winger. But I think if we, under Pedro, he was inconsistent. but then so was everyone, because no one knew what the fuck they were doing. And since then, I'll go back to it. The right side and the left side, the unit is starting to work. They're working as a team, a mini team together. Candace on Saturday was absolutely superb. Just, Hearts didn't know how to cope with him. Likewise, Murphy on Saturday. You're right, he's doing the exact same with Declan John, and they're working as a unit. One goes, one stays. And add to that on Saturday, though, Murphy just wanted to take control. He wanted to drive at them. He wanted to commit defenders. He wanted to get people on cards. He wanted to get fouls. And you saw it time and time again. We got loads and loads of fouls out wide simply because we were committed defenders, simply because we were just taking responsibility and going at them.
Now, we made, I think, the technical term for it here, because we like to keep up to date with the trends on here, don't we, Hoggy?
Always.
Yep, all the modern terminology. So looking here at the statistical breakdown of the match, it says here, David, that we had shitloads of chances, and it says here missed some sitters. I actually thought on Saturday that was the worst game our two forwards have had since Christmas. I thought that they just, for some reason, weren't on it at all. And in a way, it's encouraging that we could still go on and win the match fairly comfortably. As you say, there was no sense of panic around Ibrox. But is there something... Now, Morelos, his finishing can be erratic. There's just no point pretending that sometimes it's wonderful, sometimes a bit off. He had a header, particularly in the first half, that he does have a head like a biscuit tin, let's be honest. Sometimes he meets it flush and no keeper stopping it. Other times it's a danger to North Sea shipping. So you never really know with that. But
do you think it's the... Sorry, David, do you think it's the haircut?
I can't slag the haircut, mate. I'm not in a position to. You've still got some. You can.
That's true.
But I just feel that would be very hypocritical of me, because I would take his hair tomorrow. Even daft mohawk that it is, I would still take it. But Winda, someone raised a point to me at the game on Saturday, and he said, away from home he buries them. Is there something in his head, David, about Ibrox yet? Because look, this is true, and I don't. People can, at me on Twitter about it and disagree. I genuinely do believe this. Just sitting, listening to the punters around me, talking to people outside, the crowd don't really like him yet. Now, he's the type of guy that, for whatever reason, just has not bonded with the support. And we've talked about some of his kind of social media stuff and all the rest of it, and his antics on field, but they don't particularly like him yet. They haven't warmed to him. So he's the type of guy that needs to be scoring goals to kind of keep them on side. I wonder if he knows that and he gets that vibe a little bit, and chances that, yes, he would absolutely bury away from home. He's overthinking and snatching a little bit. There was one in particular. In fact, there were two in the second half. One when a ball was played across to him and he timed his run perfectly, got right under it and smashed it over the bar, that we've seen him put away recently away from home. And then there was the one where he was put clean through by Candace, couldn't really make his mind up whether to round the keeper, take the shot early or whatever, and ended up sort of toe poking it towards the keeper who made the save. And I did. It was at that point the guy said to me he would bury that away from home, and I thought, you're probably right there. Is there a bit of an issue at the moment with Josh playing at home?
A part of me wants to say no, but probably if you look at the numbers, it might be hard to argue against. There is. I think the thing with Josh is his biggest fan is Josh Windass, and in a lot of ways that could be a positive, because he's also a confident guy. He believes in himself, but at the same time, as you're saying, it doesn't help him build a relationship with the crowd. Especially, you talk about what he'd done in social media. There was somebody who said about him having a bad day in Twitter the other week, and Josh comes back on and says, I never have a bad day. It's like, you can give that kind of thing a bye, Josh, you don't need to go on and reply to people like that, but I can understand it could be frustrating. Again, it might be just a case of when he gets one or two, the problem will negate itself, but it's a case of getting over that stumbling block. I think Josh has got enough confidence in himself, and I think he's got the ability that it's something he will get over. is a problem now, but if time goes by and we're still at this point, towards the end of the season, going into next season, if he's still here, where he's missing his chances at home, then that's when it does become an issue.
Does Graham Murray wait too long to make substitutions, Hoggy? Because Saturday, I'd have had at least one of the front two off with half an hour to go and given Jason Cummins a decent run out. And it's a concern that has been raised to me a few times, and I've been kind of on the fence about it. But he does tend to wait till after 70 minutes. I mean, some people say 70 minutes, but it's generally 72, 75 minutes when he starts to make changes. Now, the counter-argument is we won 2-0, but I think it was pretty clear that it wasn't either of the front two's day on Saturday, and that maybe he should have been looking to freshen it up a bit.
It's a strange one because Murray's been asked this, explicitly, and he's answered by he trusts his players and thinks that they will work it out and thinks that they'll get there. That will become unstuck. If that's your go-to place all the time, you will become unstuck and will fuck it up at some point, and people will point to that as being a continued failing.
Yeah, I think you can trust your players, and I don't think it's a terrible reflection on them if you say to one of them after 60 minutes, it's not your day today, you're a good player, you made the runs correctly, it just wasn't happening, so don't worry about it, go and have a cup of tea and we'll talk about it later, but I appreciate the effort. I don't think you're judging the guy by subbing him if he's having an off day, as they were.
And I do think Murty thinks that's what he's doing with them. So he's keeping them on, trying to let them work it out, all the rest of it. As I say, we're going to come unstuck if that continues, because he's in danger of lapsing into Alec McLeish syndrome, where Paolo Vanoli would come on, bang on 60 minutes. Doesn't matter who for, Paolo Vanoli was coming on. And now it's 72 to 75 minutes, irrespective of what's going on. Like you, Morelos in the second half he would probably have tried to kick his own arse and failed. So Cummings coming on would have been probably the right move. Windass is a different one for me. David, Marshall, you talked there about bad days on Twitter and all the rest of it. I see Josh Windass as a bit of an immature kid who's grown up with a professional footballing father in a bubble, and therefore has this, well, fuck you all, I'll do what I want. I've done it all my life, so why wouldn't that be the case? Again, he'll come unstuck and he'll probably learn through it. He's having to make mistakes now that he's maybe never made, and it's been done in the public eye. Windass is probably the one, David, bizarrely, I would have kept on, because outside of the box, he was getting the ball and recycling it and putting it side to side, and he was always looking for the ball. Whereas Morelos was simply not getting on the end of things and chasing people down. So I would have had Cummings on probably 55, 60 minutes.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Now, John Beaton was the referee, lads. And I sit in the main stand but down towards the Courtland Road, because it's the furthest point you can be in the main stand away from that lot when they visit. So there was some thought put into it. But all joking aside, I thought, right, this is the type of game Beaton must have been praying for last night, because there wasn't really a lot going on. I mean, it was for a Rangers-Hearts game especially, because they can be tousy. And let's face it, Hearts are well known for their agricultural style of football, I think it's fair to say. And I thought Beaton won a watch, because there weren't tackles flying in, there weren't niggles, it wasn't that type of game at all. And he couldn't really fuck much up, but he still managed with an incident in the first half. Now, I'm at the other end of the stadium, and from where I was, I thought it was a penalty when Morelos run in. I think that Berra seemed to lose his bearings a little bit as to where he was and where Morelos was. Morelos, I thought, nipped in front of him, and it looked to me, as I say, from the other end of the stadium, like he got clipped. But both players went down, and I thought, look, sometimes from down here you can't always see correctly, and I'm not going to get up in arms about it because maybe I'm just doing it because it's beaten and I think he's a clown shoe, and I'll go home and I'll watch that incident again. Holy fuck, David, that was the penaltiest penalty of penalties you'll ever fucking see.
It really was. I mean, if he's not going to give the penalty to Rangers, I mean, it's a stonewaller, but fair enough. But to give the foul against Morelos, I don't understand. I don't know what goes in the guy's head.
Hoggy, this is a guy who quite clearly, and he showed it with that incident again, as I say, he got away with it in that match. But what worries me is the SFA will look at that and go, oh, well, that was generally trouble-free. We can put Beaton back into big games at Ibrox again. Because they've clearly been just trying to keep him away and then rehabilitate him slowly. But he, again, shows in that incident that he guesses decisions because he's... I've said it before, I think he's emotionally intelligent enough to be a top line referee because he panics when he's in front of a large crowd. He lets the game get to him, he lets the players and the atmosphere influence him. And when he does that, he doesn't just referee and give what he sees, he overthinks things. Because as David says, to come up with a decision that he's come up with there, you can't do it naturally. It wouldn't occur to you as you're watching from where he is, because his positioning was good, bit of praise where he deserves it. He can't have looked at that and thought Morelos has fouled him because it looks like Berra's clipped him. So he's clearly, in those split seconds, went, did he clip him? Well, maybe he didn't, and maybe Morelos in fact has actually clipped him and it just looks that way. I'll go with that. He guesses decisions and he overthinks things and creates scenarios. There's nothing worse, I think. Referees that don't see things, that's one thing. But referees who see things that don't happen, I think that's something nobody can make an argument for them. But maybe I'm wrong. Go on, make an argument for them.
No, guessing's absolutely spot on. I'll admit that when I was at the game, where I sit in the East Enclosure, it's not the best view in the whole wide world of the Broomloan Road End penalty area. All I saw was a coming together and Hearts get the free kick, and I kind of went, well, it must have been a free kick, not thinking who was the referee. Then I watched it when I got home, thinking, and I'm thinking, are you for fucking real here? I mean, that's up there with Darren McGregor performing a WWE style fucking whatever you call it,
flying clothesline.
One of the things that the kind of
the wrestling type men do. Yes, he did. It was actually quite a good one. It was very Undertakerish.
It was. Well, is that the?
It was it? Haha! The secret is out.
The secret's out. Well, maybe not.
Hoggy, I've long suspected that you like watching oily men grapple with each other.
Men in pants.
At least some of us do it in an arena that's safe for kids and we don't get specialist videos off the internet.
It's what the dungeon's for. Shit, did I say that? So, for a referee who thought that Alfredo Morelos that day fouled Darren McGregor, that was just that was unbelievably blatant. Either wrong, cheating, or guessing. And David, I'm a big believer in. I just don't think they cheat. Because if they, I'm a big believer in, if they cheat one way, you're going to have others cheating the other way. However, so I just think he guesses and he gets it wrong. And whether it's emotional intelligence, whether it's just he's not trained enough, or he's not good enough, or
he's not
whatever.
He doesn't have the personality to do the job, is what I'm saying, because you can be a good referee, and I'm sure he is, if it's like a training game at Auchenhowie, for example. I bet you would get a lot more right than he gets wrong, but you put him in that environment and then the personality of the person is important, and that's when he struggles.
He's got a touch of the I forget his name. Who's the wee goblin looking one?
You'll need to be more specific.
Column.
That's it. Yep, Willie Column. He reminds me of him when Column started out. That it was all about him It was, I'm going to snap back at the players and I can't possibly get anything wrong. And he got decision after decision after decision. He fucked them up time and time again. Beaton reminds me of that, just a taller version. That he's getting all of these things wrong and they're absolutely blatant. And he gets taken out of the firing line and he'll get demoted for a bit. I'm sure the championship clubs fucking love that when he gets demoted. And he gets rehabilitated and he's back in. My key question would be, if he performed the way he did at Ibrox against Hibs, and frankly, unconsciously cheated us out of points, and he gets rehabilitated in inverted commas and then turns in that performance and misses that fucking decision, what's the rehabilitation? Is it simply you're no get those Hun bastards for a wee while?
Yeah, that's what it'll be. It won't be.
That's how it comes across.
Yeah, it won't be in this instance because we won, and it'll get kind of forgotten about. Whereas obviously the Hibs one wasn't. But because it was such an uncontentious rest of game, the penalty decision didn't actually affect the match particularly. Because of that, it will get forgotten about, and it will be until his next huge game-changing fuck-up that we need to put up with him. David, maybe let's just do what the Tims would do here. Alfredo Morelos is Colombian. That's twice now he's done that against them. It's just blatant anti-Colombian bigotry, isn't it?
Well, I mean, David, when you lay all the facts out there bare to be seen by everyone, and I don't know how we can disagree with that, it's clearly that Mr. Beaton is just a racist.
There's no smoke without fire. And I would just like to say, though, in case John Beaton's lawyers are listening, that it was David Marshall who said that, and that we don't actually think John Beaton is a racist. It was being said for comedic purposes, shall we say, just in case.
And I think that's fair. We do think...
Hoggy, have a word with your boy, for fuck's sake. He's going to get shut down.
Exactly. Stop it, Davey. We do
you
think...
tried to set me up for Susie Maguire the other week. Now I'm getting set up for John Beaton. I'm not happy with this.
Hold on, you tried to set up Hoggy with Susie Maguire?
No, the other way round.
The other way round.
Hoggy, that must be you must be one of the few men of your age in Central Scotland then that hasn't been there.
No, I walked the other way. I said to David Marshall, right, your challenge, son, is you've got to fit both legs in.
Unfortunately, I could only find Michelle McManus in the garage, so...
I'm going to move the topic away from larger Z-list Scottish celebrity ladies with a reputation for enjoying a smoked sausage supper of one sort or another, and go instead to another little whore, Stephen Naismith. Now, one of the things that when the whole Naismith to Rangers story rumbled, which seemed to rumble for a long, long time, was that I think a significant amount of, shall I say, the Rangers online community, and David, I'm going to blame you for this, the younger ones, would tell us that this whole thing about the Rangers fans didn't like him, that they couldn't stand him, was in fact overplayed. And the all-encompassing term that you youngsters use for anyone who is older and righter than you are is Rangers does. And it was just us moaning, bumping our gums on Twitter, and it wasn't actually true. Stephen Naismith comes on as a substitute on Saturday and proceeds to get the shit booed out of him until the end of the game, on the very rare occasions when he touched the ball, which weren't many. This idea that the Rangers support en masse didn't really have a problem with him, it's just simply not true. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. And I think as well, you need to remember 6 years have passed since all that went down. If you're talking about the younger guys now who are 18, who are talking about the Rangers dad patter, who were only 12 at the time when Naismith, done us over, maybe they don't fully grasp just how much a heartbreak it was for guys like us, who, even myself, was a bit older at the time and was really,
loved the guy,
pissed off with the way Naismith acted after, being in love with him. He was one of us, he was Rangers to the core. He was one of these guys that, took the pay cut during the administration. These guys are going to help us get back to where we belong. Maybe we didn't think we're going Division 3, but, we'd at least get something from him. We'd at least help the club out. And he could have just left, and that'd been that. But he done that press conference and absolutely stuck the knife into the back. who cares about Charles Green and the rest of that mob? He stuck the knife into the back of every single Rangers supporter, and I'm glad that he got the action he done. The only thing I take umbrage with is, I seen he done an interview today where he said that he got booed every time he touched the ball. Now, I must have missed that, because I don't recall him ever touching the ball in that game. He got roundly booed when he came on, and he was pissed thereafter. So, Stephen Naismith, get up, you.
He can stay, Hoggy. I like him. Hoggy, you on our Patreon site, we had a debate about whether Rangers should sign Stephen Naismith back at the start of January, and Cammy argued correctly that we shouldn't, and you, for reasons best known to yourself, argued that we should. And Cammy's argument, while I thought he would have been, perfectly correct just to sit there and say he's a rat Judas bastard or play the press conference, all joking aside, Cammy's argument was he's not Stephen Naismith anymore. He's finished. He's not what he was. He looked like a shadow of the guy. If you didn't know it was him, you would never have thought that was him. As David says, he had one incident where Martin's kicked the ball off him and it's rebounded wide of the post, but that is a guy who injuries have taken their toll on.
Oh, aye, and for the record, I think I argued for, with a number of caveats and disclaimers, and one of them was fitness, one of them was around proven performance, and one of them, the main one, was around it being the right move for Rangers, not for Stephen Naismith. But of course, we would sign Jamie Murphy, would sign Jason Cummings. That's a big upgrade for me. Naismith was roundly booed, jeered and sworn at when he was he decided to go and warm up in front of the Union Bears.
Yeah.
Fucking top idea.
And he tried to get so far away from them, he was practically talking to Wes. He just didn't want to be near them.
And then he came on, roundly booed. I think he touched the ball 2 or 3 times. Jason Cummings performed an absolutely exquisite and clean, maybe, tackle on him.
Yeah, shocking booking.
Naismith, you deserve everything you get after what you did. And David Marshall, I have to say, I'm sitting here thinking, that's my boy.
Nice, Proudy's boy on that one. Okay, we'll move off the win at Hearts, enjoyable though it was, because we have another match, and I think it says something about the way that this Rangers team have been up and down, certainly this season, but even the last few years, that because we've sat and enjoyed that performance so much and praised it, that the automatic feeling when we then move on to the next game is because they have been up and down. Now, we go to St Johnstone tomorrow night, David. St Johnstone are a team who are not having a good season, who are probably playing below expectation, however, have 2 draws at Parkhead and a win at Ibrox this season. No matter how they're playing, Rangers cannot take them lightly, because this is a team who can turn up for the bigger match.
No, absolutely. I mean, Toby Wright, say what you want of him as a manager, I don't think he's good enough for a team like Rangers, but
oh God, no, he's not.
He does very well for where he is and for the level he's at. I mean, I think we all know how it's going to go down in Tuesday. It's not going to be a pretty game. It's going to be absolutely freezing in Perth. And to be perfectly honest, if you were to offer me a 1-0 scrappy goal right now, I'd take it, because it's going to be a difficult game. And I think just going up there and getting the win, if we get the win, I think it says a lot about the character of this team and how we are progressing, because you just know the way that St Johnstone are going to play, and it is a difficult game we've got coming up.
Hoggy, do you make any changes to that team, be it for tactics or for freshening it up?
Not for tactics, no. I think the system's the system. We'll play it. I'm expecting changes next Sunday against Falkirk, but I wouldn't have thought we'll go to Perth and make changes. If we're going to make any changes, it's unlikely to be the likes of Lee Wallace or Bruno Alves. It's more likely to be a Jason Cummings for Morelos, for example. But that really would be about it, because if you look at the keeper staying, the defence by and large is staying, unless you decide you want to be a wee bit more solid and you would maybe go Lee Wallace. Don't know.
No, after you can't drop Lee Wallace. It wouldn't be fair on Lee Wallace to drop him after 5 months into a match like that, I think. Taking into account as well the conditions for a guy who's been out so long with that type of injury, I can't see it.
I agree. And I don't think Bruno Alves is just coming back in for the St Johnstone game. I do expect him to play against Falkirk, as I expect Lee Wallace to play against Falkirk. The midfield, right up to Josh Windass, that ain't changing unless anyone's got a niggle. And then the question is it Cummings or is it Morelos? And I would imagine the answer will be Morelos, because he had a stinker on Saturday, so almost the way he plays, if he's had a stinker, he'll come out all guns blazing tomorrow night. So I would expect it to be the exact same starting 11 and the exact same game plan.
David, what are the keys for Rangers? What do we need to be aware of tomorrow? But more importantly, what do we need to do to go and get that win tomorrow night?
Without sounding a bit too much Mark Warburton, I think it's just a case of, playing our own game. If we play the way we did on Saturday, there's not many teams in this league that's going to be able to handle us.
Correct.
I'd slightly disagree with Hoggy in terms of changes, because I'd probably start Cummins in the next two games, purely because I'm getting a bit worried about the amount of time he's getting on the pitch, from the point of view of I don't think he'll want to be here next year if this is the amount of time he's getting. Also, there's a huge caveat around the future Morelos, but I think it's about time we need to start throwing Cummins into these situations if we trust him as a striker. And I think it's a tough game. We've got this midweek, but if we throw Cummins in there and he gets us a goal, gets us a winning goal even, then I think that will be huge for him and it's huge for us. But in terms of winning this match, football's a very simple game at times. If we play like we did on Saturday, we'll win. If we play like we did when they turned us over at Ibrox, there's a good chance we're going to lose.
No, we are going to lose. That was
simply not good enough.
I think that was our worst performance this season. If we play like that, we are going to get beaten. No doubt about it. St Johnstone didn't have to play well to beat us at Ibrox. That was the really irritating thing about that performance. Now, lads, I'll just quickly I'll get your predictions for that match. David?
1-0 Rangers.
Hoggy?
4-1 Rangers.
Oof. I am going to go for 3-0 Rangers. I think it'll be a repeat of what we saw the last time, but time will tell. So a range of scores there. Normally, we if we get 2 agreeing, we say go and put your money on that, but we didn't. So it's up to you. You're on your own this week, listeners, I'm afraid. Now, in the press conference for today's match, Graham Murty, you may have seen the headlines that Murty thanks Scott Brown for Scotland service. And that caused a bit of debate online, with people saying, he shouldn't be praising Scott Brown, and why is he even talking about that? He should have said no. If you watch the press conference, I think it's a little different, and it made me think about having watched it for the Daily Update. It then got me thinking after it. Now, when he's asked the question, what he actually says is, he laughs and says, "You're really asking me about Scott Brown at a Rangers press conference?" And it's quite clear that the reporter is on a fishing trip, because if he doesn't say he's done well for Scotland, then the headline is Murty refuses to thank Scott Brown for, and if he does, it's the headline it was, and it's fishing for an angle, and it's this obsession Scottish football journalists have with non-stories rather than the actual game of football itself. Now, on the one hand, I don't like it because he's a Lego munching tit, and I'd really rather that we just ignored them. And I think you saw that thing yesterday in the Sheep game, but I'm not sure what Graham Murty could really have done other than perhaps just say, look, I don't really want to talk about this. What he does is he tries to turn it into a positive about his own players, where he says, I want Scotland players to be coming through and having long Rangers players at the moment, our youngsters, to come through and have long Scotland careers. That's my aim. So he may have phrased it a little clumsily, but it got me thinking, Hoggy, that it's not always about what guys say, that sometimes there are little pitfalls put in front of them that there's no good path to negotiate.
Yeah, and I fell into it as today, I have to say. I looked at the Andy Newport press guy, the only and who I generally think and genuinely think is a pretty decent journalist. The only thing he tweeted from the presser was Scott Brown gets thanked by Graham Murty for Scotland's service, and that was it. But as you say, there's a fishing expedition. Murty starts off the answer very well, and just to build on that, the Celtic Aberdeen game, fucking hell, man, Scott Brown was every inch the fucking moron that we know that he is. Here was a guy decrying Kilmarnock the other week for having the audacity to celebrate a win against Celtic, and that cunt starts celebrating a fucking tackle. Hypocritical doesn't start it, but he's a moron, right? Last comment on him. Murty then talked about, are you really asking me about him? He thanks him for his service because he's the way the question's been phrased is, Graham, you obviously played with him at the end of your career and the start of his. So Graham Murty's never ever at that point going to say, fuck him, he's a Mongo. He's not going to say that. I think he goes overboard in his praise, and I think Graham Murty has to recognise that football fans have knee-jerk reactions, and if you do that time and time again, like for example, Parkhead, what a wonderful place to come and play football, or whatever it was he said in the new year.
Second to none, he said.
Second to none, the atmosphere. Then these wee things start to chalk themselves up in people's minds, so he needs to be careful. After that, of course, he turns it into a positive for Rangers, which I liked, and he talked about, well, if that Lego munching fuck's not there, and I wish he had said that, if he's not there, then our players have got a real chance of staking a claim. Great, talk our guys up, because let's face it, for years that hasn't happened.
David, thoughts?
Well, I think it's just press conferences are generally, useless things. Managers and players don't really want to be there, and 90% of the time they'll give you the same answer. Press conference and not have the date on it, and it could be from any week, a match or team. I think Murray handled it fairly well when he was clearly dealing with a guy who was just looking for, either column space or web space to fill, obviously fishing for a line. And Scott, Ian's right at what he said about these things start to build up in the fans' mind, and that's why headlines are dangerous for managers and players. So I just say to the people out there, I know we don't want to read the Daily Record or the Sun, but if you're going to do that as well, don't put any weight into their headlines, because they're out there to paint these guys up for saying something they didn't.
Yeah, and this was a classic case.
Sorry, David, I'd also argue, and I've thought this over the past couple of seasons, is it just me, or do we seem to have press conferences at the drop of a fucking hat now? We had one before the game on Saturday, we had one after the game on Saturday. It's now Monday, and just because we got a game on Tuesday, we've got to have another one.
No, that's not us, that's part of the agreement.
No, I get that, but how many questions can these guys fucking ask that warrant, up to 3 press conferences in a week?
No, I agree with David. I mean, after West Foderingham comes on, and exactly what David says, and this is no disrespect to Wes, he's clearly, it's all he can do, is, it was a good win, we want to keep winning, tough match. I mean, it's all he can say, and it is pointless. It's just to help people fill column inches. There's not really any point to it. But yeah, you're right, sometimes it's a bit comedic, and especially when you've got guys who don't want to ask you about the actual football, which is the majority of the Scottish press. Now, before we finish up today, a few things I'd like to mention. First of all, SPFL manager watch. Derek McInnes, who of course could have became our manager but decided against it, has a bit of a reputation for being a shite bag, and in his 10th attempt to beat Celtic, he lost for the 10th time as Aberdeen manager, after bizarrely, when going to play Celtic, instead of having a go at them, Celtic of course having been humiliatingly pumped out of Europe by a Zenit team who were still on their holidays the other night and a journey back from Russia. Instead of pressing them as teams who've got a bit of success against them have this season, he decided to sit in, and of course they lost. The phrase that began to trend on Twitter yesterday among Rangers fans was "bullet dodged." David, we said it at the time, and I don't want to go too much into it because we've spent enough time talking about this non-entity. Derek McInnes coming to Rangers would have been... There was a reason nobody was excited about it. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. He is a decent manager up to a point. That point is Aberdeen, St Johnstone. He is not a Rangers manager in any way, shape or form. In his own head, he's an Aberdeen legend when he's had the easiest run at Aberdeen than any other manager in their history. Through all that time, he's managed one cup and a couple of second places. The guy is well suited to where he is, and just thank God he's not at Rangers.
Hoggy, I've got to be honest, if it's him or Graham Murty, it would be Graham Murty for me, any day of the week. And that's not to say that I'm saying at this point Graham Murty for the long term. I'm going to wait and see as the board are. But for me, I'd echo exactly what David said there. But the fact that people have been saying, there's a battle for second, there really shouldn't be, because we can only fuck it up. They're not good enough to go and do it themselves.
I think you look at Derek McInnes' record against not only them, but against us. He's had 16 games in a row, and he's lost 15 and won 1. And the one game that he won, I think our defence that night was the Rangers under-9 girls team. And they managed to scrape a 2-1 win. The rest of it, Jesus, Pedro beat him time after time, for Christ's sake. Bullet dodged, ? I'd say that there's a guy on Easy Street who continually shites his pants in the face of big challenges. That's not a Rangers manager.
What I think is brilliant, as I sent a wee kind of message to the sheep yesterday, just to point out that don't feel bad, sheep. Here's a wee thing to cheer you up. He's unsackable now, and he is. He's absolutely unsackable. They would need to get relegated before Milne would chop him. He is there for life, and he's never going to go anywhere, because he's had 2 opportunities to do so, and he's bottled both of them. He's there for life. So that's what they're gonna achieve, and hope that once every decade they can win a cup. So great, they're back to where they should be in Scottish football. Now the other one, of course, was our old friend Neil Lennon, who made everybody's Saturday morning by going on one of these tizzies that only he can do, when after a penalty was given against his side, which I thought was a penalty, he then launches an epic rant at the referee, gets sent off. After the game, still hasn't calmed down, and still proceeds to then compound his I'm an arseholeness by making a further arse of himself. And Hoggy, it's fucking hilarious, but this is a guy in his 40s. The daft boyness or the passionate thing, it doesn't wash anymore. This is just a Ned. The
guy's a joke, first and foremost. He's almost a, and he always has been, but he's a caricature of himself. Type of guy that ignores all the decisions that goes their way. We've been talking about Beaton, for example. Only ever talks about the injustices. He is the perennial, always the victim. To be honest, the only club he can go, there's only 2 clubs he can go to now after Hibs, and that's Celtic and Liverpool. The handball, it was a handball. I thought it was a wee bit harsh. I thought his arm was by his side, but Lennon actually claims that he's seen it again and that it hits his chest. Now that's just downright lies.
Yeah, that is.
So here's a guy that he plays a victim card continually. It in turn plays the sectarianism card, despite him having a rather kind of dodgy, big-gated background throughout his playing career that we've seen. And and is continually handled by the authorities in Scotland with kid gloves. Because let's face it, he's got loads and loads and loads of previous, as well as being banned twice, but we'll let them run at the same time. How the fuck does that work? And, you know, this is also the guy that effectively drove the refereeing strike. And then amusingly, of course, the referee for the Celtic game at that point came from Luxembourg, made a mess of the decision, and Celtic dropped points. After Saturday, it was... The incident was debated long and hard on Sportscene. And quite a lot of them were playing the poor old Neil, he's passionate card. But the actual incident itself wasn't shown. I'd hark back, as I do, to maybe 28 years ago, to 1990, when Souness was banned for 5 months by the SFA for effectively talking out a turn again about referees in the SFA. He then was instructing the players from the tunnel, and on TV evidence, that ban was extended to 2 years. Neil Lennon, after Saturday, after those pictures, after what he did, during the game and after it, he should be looking at a circa 12-month ban. The three of us sitting here tonight know fine well he'll get a paltry fine and a 3-game ban. And then he'll do it all again 6 months later.
No, it won't even take as long as that, I don't think. But David, don't get it shut down. But your thoughts on just what Hoggy was saying there?
Yeah, sure. He said it was funny, and after the initial reaction of myself going, Neil Lennon acting an arse, I actually got quite angry at it because I'm a referee myself.
What?
And I know, a referee and a journalist. I just like being unpopular.
I'm getting the word nonce.
now you guys see why I was trying to match him with Susie McGuire.
I'm surprised he's not been there already. But go on.
Yeah. So, if Neil Lennon could act like an adult, he actually makes a standard of refereeing in Scotland isn't good enough, but also Lennon can't act like an adult. So how do we improve the standard refereeing? We need to get more guys into it. We need to get younger guys, 16, 18, taking the course and get trained up. And we need to get experienced players who don't play the game anymore get into refereeing. The number one thing that stops people getting involved in refereeing is seeing acts like Lennon acted on Saturday. People look at that and go, fuck that, that's simply not worth it. And when we've got, seasoned professionals, guys who have played in the Champions League, won league medals, won various cups, acted like that and on the sideline on Saturday, there's absolutely no way we're going to get more people into refereeing, and so the standard is going to be just as poor as it is now.
That's a fair point, and I've long argued. No, I haven't. I've always thought there's something deeply wrong with your psychology if you want to be a referee. I think that you must have been bullied at school. That's the only possible explanation I can get for it.
All I'm going to say is
bullied at school and too short for the police. That's really the only possible explanation. But go on, what were you going to say in your defence?
All I was going to say is I've got a variety of safe words, and I'm just going to leave it there.
Yes, and we're going to move on from there. Okay, folks, it's only 3 months until NARSA, the NARSA convention this year, North American Rangers Supporters Association, is in Calgary, and I will be there. So if that doesn't make you want to sign up, all the other stuff that they're going to be doing, the amount of legends who are going to go there should. Go to their website, it's narsa.com. It's going to be a fantastic time. I've always wanted to go to Calgary. I'm looking forward to it. There'll be a live pod. There'll be loads of interviews with me and other people, the legends and whatnot. I'm not sure that they know that yet, but trust me, I'm persistent. So narsa.com for more information. Now, if you like our show, you can find us on patreon.com, where there are at least 3 shows every day, including specials by the 2 gents who have entertained you royally for the last hour. And both of them now, actually, apart from Hoggy's Hamper, where he does a Q&A every week, and he joins me on the Advocate Years, where we look back in minute detail at Dick Advocate's time at Rangers. He's also on David's show. David, explain to the listeners what the Millennial Bears is.
Yep, so the Millennial Bears is a look back at the first decade of the new millennium. We started in 01, about 01-02 when Advocat left and McLeish came in. And we've kind of done a season by season review each episode, looking at all the ups and downs from Le Guin coming in, Walter coming back, McLeish leaving, finishing third. At the moment, we are into a 3-part episode of the 07-08. And on this week's show, we're getting right into nitty-gritty. We're going to be talking about Florentina, the league run-in, and of course the final in Manchester. So it's a really good time. If you've not listened to the show before, come and listen to this week's, because it's going to be a cracker.
And Hoggy, tell them about this week's Advocate years.
So the Advocate years is something I was particularly excited to do, I have to say, David. And I'm surprised at how much depth and detail we've got into. I think everyone else is. We might finish it after it. It's a 468-parter.
Yeah, well, basically, this week was episode 11, and we haven't got to the end of the first season yet.
And so we're talking real in depth, but it's not just about the games. It's about the time. It's about the players. Of course, we could sign players throughout the season, much to the amusement and amazement of our young bear, Stuart McCall. This week, and it will hit Wednesday morning, I think.
Yes, it will.
Myself, Stuart, and David did a watch along the entire match, watching through it, little snippets of commentary, but
the Old
really
Firm shame game we should mention, May 99, May the 2nd. The
My
Old
apologies.
Firm in inverted commas shame game, which we counted precisely no incidents of any trouble involving Rangers or Rangers fans, and about 47 of the Tims. But the Old Firm shame game, as it came to be known.
And this was full match, watched on YouTube. It'll be a 3-2-1 go, hit play. And basically we just had, I have to say, David, a superb laugh from start to finish.
It was, and I think people will really enjoy it. Just if you want to just pop the game on, but people are really enjoying the content on Patreon. In fact, we had a cancellation from one bloke who says that there's too much. And here was me worried about there not being enough. We promised when we started at 20 to 25 hours extra content a month. There's now going to be at least 40 coming your way every month. It's just $1.99. Pick and choose your shows. There's current affairs chat, a tactics show that breaks down with tactical experts, guys like Ali Bain and Dougie Wright that you may know from Twitter, where they break down the games in detail. There's previews of all our opponents, so if you want to learn a bit more about them before we play them, you'll get those details. Daily update from me with all the news and latest rumours. And all these historic shows where everything going right back to the Gallant Pioneers, the Struth days, we've got shows on every era of Rangers. So it's kind of like Netflix in your ears for Rangers fans is the best description. $1.99 per month. Please come check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. We've got well over 2,000 now. We're almost up to 2,500 who are there, and they're enjoying themselves. So don't take my word for it, take theirs. Patreon.com, patreon.com/Heart and Hand, and up we shall pop. Now, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us and for listening. Oh, one last thing. We are in Dunfermline, Hoggy, on Saturday night, where we're going to do a live pod, and the panel contains myself, Mr. Hogg here, Cammy, the Livingston Lothario, and a guy called Kevin Thompson, who you may have heard. I think he's a coach at the club now, but he's quite good. He's got the odd story I've heard. And we released the last 20 tickets. I think we're down to about 12 now for Saturday night. So if you want to come along, it's Dunfermline, the British Legion Hall. Kicks off about 7:30. You'll have your chance to come along and meet Kevin, get autographs and whatnot. It is a good laugh. Anyone who'd been at the Loudon show will tell you he is epic. It's going to be a fantastic night. So if you just have a look on Twitter at my feed, or if you have a look at the Facebook post for this pod, we'll also include the link there, and you can get tickets to the live show. I would encourage you to come along. It's going to be some night. Great way to warm up for Falkirk on the Sunday. Okay, we will be back on Thursday with the reaction to the St Johnstone game and a Falkirk preview. All that remains for me to do is to thank our executive producers in London, Mr Mike Lee and Mr Paul Miles, not Mike Miles, that would be frightening, and to thank my guest today after a wonderful McCrory-esque debut, Mr David Marshall.
Oh, pleasure, David. Thanks for having me on.
And of course the camelled head at the back, the Russell Martin that is Ian Hogg.
Pleasure as always, David.
My name's David Edgar. I'm one of you, and we are the people. Take care. Speak to you again next week. Bye.